Welcome into another edition of the H&H podcast. Henry Lake, Ahmad Hicks on a Monday.
Yeah.
And we are feeling good because the sports teams in this town did good yesterday. So let's get into it. And we'll start with the obvious, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
All right. The Minnesota Vikings had a ridiculous game yesterday. Defensively, scoring touchdowns. Offensively, scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to the 48-10 victory?
It was a good team effort. I thought it was a complimentary win. Offense, defense, special teams, I felt like they all complemented one another. We didn't have to see Carson Wentz do too much in that game. I think that's what you wanted to see. I think that defense gave him enough cushion where he could kind of breathe, relax, and go play football and not pressure-packed football, you know what I'm saying, where you feel like you got to go make every play or you got to extend every drive. So got sacked a couple of times. Didn't love that, but love what Isaiah Rodgers did. The NFC Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week hasn't been announced, but we all know it's going to be him.
Slam dunk.
Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, when you're talking about 3 takeaways in the first half by yourself and 2 touchdowns, that's nuts, man.
That's crazy. And I think you hit it on the head, though. Carson Wentz, the situation at quarterback right now is that if that defense plays to that level, and I'm not saying they're going to score touchdown every single week or whatever, but if they play relatively well and the running game can continue to emerge like it did yesterday for the first time, you've got something. Because I don't think he's going to make enough mistakes for this team to be in trouble spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, we probably won't see a backup quarterback every weekend and a bad offensive line like the Cincinnati Bengals, so take that with a grain of salt. Like, I know people will want to see the Vikings go duplicate that performance on defense again, but that's going to be tough, you know, because you won't play many backup quarterbacks for the rest of the season, maybe. But still, with that being said, I thought that KOC, Kevin O'Connell, managed the game really, really well from a head coach and offensive coordinator's perspective. I think Brian Flores kept Jake Browning, Jamar Chase, all those guys in check, didn't even let them have a glimpse or just a little glimmer of like, oh, maybe we can do this, you know. So they really took the soul out of the Bengals from the very beginning of the game. But that's good. You needed that momentum heading into a much tougher matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Dublin.
And let's be honest, this version of the defense got guys back. Van Ginkel back, Harrison Smith gets an opportunity to play. So they seem more whole than they've ever been at any point in this season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were judging them, you know, based on their first couple of games, but like you didn't have Christian Darrisaw on the offensive line. You still haven't seen Jordan Addison play like this season with JJ McCarthy. And then you talk about Andrew Van Ginkel getting dinged up and, you know, Harrison Smith hadn't played this season. So I think what we saw last night was what this defense is capable of, because I think all the starters were out there except for Blake Cashman. So you're like, all right, we can work with this defense. Like Harry, first game back, tips the ball for the first interception, leads to the first points of the game. Well, second touchdown of the game for the Vikings. And it's just like, all right, you know what? Like this is kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? Like this, they can do something, especially with those new additions up front. And Javon Hargrave, he left the game yesterday with a chest contusion. They say he could have came back, so that's good to hear. And then Jonathan Allen. So it's like this team is clicking defensively right now.
Yeah, let's talk about Carson Wentz though for a second, because I like how he played, but people are already asking the question: do we have a quarterback controversy? And how do you kind of maneuver this if they run off like 2 or 3 consecutive wins? And my take on it has been that you just kind of you feel it out.
Yeah.
And don't be in a rush to throw JJ back into the mix, because we've seen JJ play and it hasn't been pretty, and you don't want to break any momentum in the National Football League. What do you think?
See, man, that's tough, Lake. Like, that's tough. Like, you drafted JJ McCarthy 10th overall. He got hurt last year, so you didn't see what you had in him. You told Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold to walk because this was your future. He gets hurt in game 2. He misses games 3, 4, 5, maybe. And then you're like, all right, well, we're going to put you on the shelf because Carson has momentum. Then Carson's on a 1-year deal. Then after this year, you're right back in that same cycle. All right, well, we got to let Carson walk. If he just had success, then we got to start over with JJ. And it's like, at some point, you got to see what you got. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not on board with, even if Carson does go out there and go win 3 games in a row, I still think you got to throw JJ out there and throw him in the fire. Let him play against the Ravens. Let him play against the Eagles. At some point, he has to get enough reps to figure out what we have in this guy. And I think if we just keep prolonging it, keep playing backup quarterbacks and, you know, having that carousel every year come in with quarterbacks, it's like, what are we doing? So it's like right now you have the luxury of having a quarterback on a rookie deal. But this is the second season right now.
Yeah.
So say, for instance, if he misses this year, but he goes out and kills it next year, well, you're going to have to start paying him already. Like, you're going to have to pay him big money already. And so I think, look, you got to let him go out there, go play, and let him see what he can do. And then if he's good enough, all right, now you got your team. Like, you got your defense, you got your offense.
Yeah.
Let's go play. And I think what everyone has lost sight of, Carson Wentz had Christian Darrisaw yesterday. JJ McCarthy has not had Christian Darrisaw.
Agreed.
That is one of the best players on the Vikings team, like if not the best player outside of Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
So it's kind of like you need that guy. He's the best left tackle in football, and when you don't have him, it makes a significant difference to this team. And I think Coach O'Connell said it yesterday. He said, Christian Darrisaw, if you guys found out what having an elite left tackle meant, like Christian Darrisaw is it. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. But basically, like, he's saying, like, this is why we kind of had a little bit more success offensively, because our anchor's back.
I am not tied to a decision. And the reason why I say this is because when people get hot, they get hot, man.
Right.
And I'm not trying to break, like, the momentum. If it comes at the expense of JJ, then it comes with that.
Let me ask you this.
And you're going to get Jordan Addison back this week.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know it's bad timing, but, man, I got to –
Okay, let me ask you
this. This is the thing. If it's Carson Wentz the way he played this weekend, I ain't tripping. But what if he plays much better the next couple of weeks? Then we have a conversation.
Let me ask you this. Say, for instance, Carson Wentz plays these next 2 games, right?
Yep.
He wins both games.
Yep.
Say, for instance, the Vikings and O'Connell say, we're going to roll with you because you got the hot hand, all right?
Yep.
Say he goes out there, wins 5 out of 7 games, but then has a really bad stretch of 2 games where he just can't do anything. You go back to JJ then?
I mean,
you see what I'm saying?
I mean, you might, but, like, didn't we kind of have that last year? But we didn't have anybody to turn to.
No, you didn't have nobody to go to.
No, but that's what I'm saying. We didn't have anybody to turn to.
But Darnold played great. They started undefeated.
Yeah, but at the end, he fell off.
It's the offensive line.
Yeah, and that's true, too. Yeah.
And the games against anybody except for the Detroit Lions and Los Angeles Rams.
He was
outside of those 2 teams, he beat everybody else.
Yeah.
He had career numbers against everybody else. It was the teams that had a defensive line where he was seeing ghosts, where he couldn't do anything. They kind of addressed that problem now. They have an offensive line. So, I what's to say that JJ McCarthy can't do that? And Ryan Clark, I love Ryan Clark. I think he's great at his job. But I think sometimes he gets caught up in being an entertainer rather than just being the football analyst that we grew to love when he first came on the scene. And he said something yesterday. He sent out a tweet, and he said, I told Dan that Carson Wentz was going to be better than JJ. And ... It's like, bro, Carson Wentz, this is his 10th season. He's played over 100 NFL games.
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy has played 2 games. I asked Adam Thielen this because he played with Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago for the Carolina Panthers. And I said, do you think the scrutiny and the criticism is fair for young quarterbacks? And he said, no. He was like, it's not fair for any quarterback. He said, when they all win, it's on them. When we all lose, it's on us. And he was like, it's a total team sport. And I just think that people get too caught up in what JJ did or didn't do. And it's like, all right, let's look at the total body of work. Were the receivers open when he had time to throw? When he didn't have time to throw, why was it? Was it because of the left tackle? Was it because of the center? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's a lot of variables that go into this. So and I just think that right now fans need to calm down. And they just need to let JJ get back healthy. Like, this is his team. They built this team around him. Yeah. Let him go play ball with his left tackle, his number 2 wide receiver, his backs, Aaron Jones back. And then let's make a judgment after week 9 or 10. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel.
The start of the day yesterday, though, was Isaiah Rogers.
Absolutely.
So he had an incredible defensive effort. How do you think his emergence yesterday impacts that entire secondary? Because going into training camp, and when you look at the offseason signings, I love that signing.
Yeah.
They signed him to a 2-year deal. Jeff Okudah, he is, they're trying to, he's a reclamation project.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to get him like healthy, stay healthy, and get him back to like having confidence in himself.
For sure.
But Rogers is somebody that I look at and I'm like, okay, yeah, I think he's definitely somebody that can be solid back there.
When I first saw that acquisition this offseason, I was like, all right, like former Super Bowl champ. He was a backup there. They had a ton of good corners, Queion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Darius Slay. So it's like you understood why he didn't start. But it's like, all right, kind of an unknown. But the one thing I noticed throughout OTA's minicamp and training camp, he's fast.
Yeah.
Like, and when you're fast as a cornerback, like you can go make plays. And the play that I loved the most yesterday, and I spoke about this on the Vikings Now podcast, not the interceptions, not the fumble recovery, not the punch outs. It's the play with T. Higgins, one-on-one, man coverage, locked up, fade ball. He played T. Higgins, then he turned and found the ball. Most DBs you just see, like, say, for instance, this is the receiver. They look like this at the receiver the whole time. They never go back and look at the quarterback or the ball to try and make a play on the ball. He did exactly that, and he's undersized at that position, yet he still went up and made a play. I think when you have a cornerback like that, you have trust on that side of the field. You know what I'm saying? Like, Brian Flores now has trust to say, you know what? I can put Byron Murphy Jr. on an island. I can put Isaiah Rodgers on an island. I can send Josh Metellus on a blitz, and I can just put Harrison Smith in the deep center field and let them all go play ball, and then I can go blitz the quarterback with these other 8 guys. Like, I think that gives Brian Flores a luxury, to his advantage, like when calling plays, because 2-3 years ago when he got here, he took over for Ed Donatello. You didn't have a cornerback that could play man-to-man. They could only play zone. So you can't blitz like that. And when you do blitz like that, there's an open spot in the zone. You know what I'm saying? So we've seen Brian Flores and his crew get better year after year because they keep getting more personnel that fits his scheme.
Yeah, Rodgers to me also is a redemption story because, before he got to Philadelphia, he was in Indianapolis. He had the suspension
for gambling,
for the gambling situation, whatever. And I became a fan of his when I saw that story, even before he got to Philadelphia, because he expressed he didn't express anything, but he said that he was accountable for everything.
He was.
Like, he was totally accountable. And I know it had to do with, like, doing something for a friend or something like that, whatever. And it wasn't really him, like, wagering on games or whatever, but he was accountable for it. He says, you know what? I got to be better. That's not who I am. He moved on to Philadelphia. They won a Super Bowl, and now he's here being productive in Minnesota.
And he's about to get a big payday if he keeps playing the way that he is. Sure. He will get a big payday after this season. He's on a 2-year deal, but they'll extend him after this season if he doesn't allow big plays and is a standout guy. And the one thing I love about Isaiah Rodgers, and he said it during, I want to say, like, mini camp or something like that, he spoke about why he chose the number 2. And he said, because it's the second lease on life. After my suspension for a year, he said I had a lot of time to reflect, to be accountable, like Lake just said, and just be honest with myself about how I need to do better. And so he said that's the reason that he chose number 2, because this is his second chance, and he didn't want to, let this chance go to waste. And I just love that mentality, because you see players that get suspended and they still won't be accountable for it. They'll blame other people. They'll be like, well, that wasn't my fault. This scenario,
Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and it's just like, he's like, look, I did it. I owned up for it. It made me a better man, and now I'm going to be a better football player.
I love that.
So I love that, too. So I love what Isaiah Rodgers did, and I loved his coming-out game yesterday. I'm glad everybody got a chance to see how good this guy could be. Now he just needs to stack those days. You can't just live in the past on this one game. You got to keep stacking them and give Kwesi a reason to go give you $30, $40 million like they just gave Byron Murphy $60 million. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep playing, got to keep balling.
I think that this game coming up here in Dublin is the biggest game for the Minnesota Vikings in the first half of the season. And the reason why I say that, when I say first half, I'm talking about essentially the first 8-9 games, is because as it stands right now, we do not know how good or bad the Vikings are. We don't.
No, we don't.
We also don't know how good or bad the Pittsburgh Steelers are. They're 2-1. We're 2-1. And people are like, man, the Steelers' defense ain't what it used to be. We all know that Aaron Rodgers ain't what he used to be. Like, but we don't know about the Vikings either. Like, we got Darryl Saw back. We got Harrison Smith back. We're about to get Jordan Addison. So I think that this game this weekend is going to be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a momentum-boosting win if you can get it, because then you're still staying overseas. And you're going to play a tough Cleveland Browns team the very next week, who just knocked off the Green Bay Packers, who I think their left tackle had came out last week and said, when you look on paper, none of these teams stack up to us. I think we can go undefeated. Then they come out there and lose the very next week. Like, so I think when you talk about you don't know how good the Steelers are, you don't know how good the Vikings are, we don't know how good anybody is right now. Because if you look at the NFC North, all right, Chicago, they very well could have beat the Vikings in week 1. They laid an egg in week 2 versus the Lions, but then came out there and took it to the Cowboys. Then you got the Lions, who didn't look as good without Ben Johnson in their first game. Then they came back and put up 52 on Ben Johnson in Chicago and stuff like that. So it's like, and then Green Bay, they look phenomenal the first 2 weeks, and then went out there and scored 10 points last week. So it's kind of just like, you don't know what you're going to see. So that's why I keep screaming to Vikings fans and, be patient. Like, like let's get to week 8 or 9, like you just said, and then we can kind of assess. But going back to this Dublin game, Dublin and London, it's huge. Like, it's huge because you either go into your bye week with the chance to be 4-1.
Yeah.
Or you go into your bye week 3-2, or you could go in your bye week at 2-3. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but the reason why I think that this game matters so much, though, is not only do you got a stronger team from a health perspective.
Yeah.
Typically, Mike Tomlin doesn't get outcoached. He doesn't. He typically doesn't. Like there'll be times where he'll have a bad quarterback, or he won't have the greatest receivers, or there'll be some struggles, whatever. Like he'll have some deficiencies that he has to work around. But if his team is relatively good, he typically does not get outcoached.
You know, it's funny you say that because my buddy, my best friend, he used to play for the Steelers last year. And he said, like, he told me, like, what it's like, you know, like, do coaches call you out, stuff like that. He said that probably in this meeting on Wednesday with his team, Tomlin's going to pull up the film, and he's probably going to look at his left tackle, his right tackle, and be like, you got a challenge this week. You need to go stop Jonathan Grenard, and you need to go stop Andrew Van Ginkel. If we want to win this game, I'm putting it on you right now. And he calls him out like that. And he said, so my buddy Mike Cole said that when he challenges the players like that early in the week, you kind of know, like, all right, I got to live up to the billing this week. Like, I can't. My team is counting on me. And so, like you said, he is a great coach. But that being said, Kevin O'Connell is a great coach, too.
Oh, for
and
sure.
so is Brian Flores.
Absolutely.
You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think it's going to be a big game. And I think ultimately, I don't think coaching will boil down to it. It's going to be executing. Like, you know, these guys can call the right plays, but can these guys go make plays? You know, that's the big thing in the NFL. Like, a coach can put you in the right spot, but can you finish?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good opportunity for Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy because they're going to see a good wide receiver in DK Metcalf. And then you got Josh Metellus and Harrison Smith going to take on Pat Freiermuth and, you know, Darnell Washington, the talented tight ends that they have. And I think the one thing Jonnu Smith, too. And one thing I think they got going for them, the Steelers really don't have a running game right now.
No.
So they're going to have to be forced to drop back and
Franco
pass.
Harris not coming through that door.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to be off platform quite a bit, which means that he doesn't have the speed to extend plays for a very long time, but I still think that he is very accurate down the field. So Isaiah Rodgers, Byron Murphy, they will be tested this week, so they have to be ready to live up to that challenge.
You know, let's switch to the Lynx and Mercury game one of the semifinals of the WNBA, if I can spit it out. We were both there last night. Great atmosphere. It was another one of those games where in the first half, it was a tale of two halves.
Always with this team.
The Lynx were struggling a little bit, but they brought it in the second half, most notably in the fourth quarter. And I love this team. I love the makeup of this team, and I love Courtney Williams. I just love her personality. I just love her, like, how she is able to rally everybody. And even when she's not making shots, she's impacting the game in some way.
Yeah, she has to.
Yeah.
If you're not going to make shots, you got to be able to facilitate. You got to be able to defend, and I think she did all of that well yesterday. And a reporter asked her after the game, she said, I feel like in the second half you kind of, like, turn it on and, you know, this and that. And Court was like, I feel like I bring the same energy all 40 minutes. So she's like, maybe that's your perspective. But she was like, you know, when it comes to those final moments, that fourth quarter, she was like, that's go time. She was like, that's closing time. Yeah. And I think, you know, yesterday you saw both teams were probably a little fatigued in the first half because they don't play a ton of players. You're talking about 6, 7 deep for both teams. But I think halftime adjustments were crucial. Like, AT was having her way with the Lynx, like just going to the paint, playing bully
18?
ball. Yeah, 18 points in the first half, playing bully ball the entire first half. And then the Lynx like, all right, we got to make a change. And they just focused in on the defensive end and started making open shots. And then the game started, you know, breaking away from there. They outscored the Mercury 42-22 in the second half. So you love the defensive effort, but one thing I don't want to see again in this playoffs is them to keep getting punched in their mouths to begin the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like if you're a championship caliber team, you got to go out there and you got to stick it to these teams right away. Like, take their soul right away. Don't even let them think they have a chance going into halftime. And I think the Mercury's head coach was hilarious after the game because he was like, if you would have told me we would have scored 47 points in the first half, I wouldn't have believed you. And I was like, that says a lot about your team. The one, that you don't think they can score a lot, and two, you're giving a lot of respect to the Lynx defense.
Yeah, I thought Masha, what she gave them, that 8 minutes she played.
Yeah, huge in the fourth quarter.
Unbelievable. Like she wasn't the MVP of the game, clearly, but she was like in the top 3.
Yeah.
Like, she played extremely well. And if you talk about any team that really feeds off of the crowd, like the Lynx really do.
That crowd brought it in the second half.
Yeah.
That first half was quiet. Not gonna lie, that first half was a little bit quiet. They were trying to get going. They were trying to, be in the game, but the Mercury just kept taking the fans out of the game. And at home court, at home, you can't have that in the playoffs. Like, that's why I say you got to get your crowd behind you early.
Now, there was a moment, though, where I was concerned, and it was the moment where, and you'll remember this, it was over the span of maybe 2.5 minutes, where they missed 3 easy layups, 3 easy ones.
Courtney Williams smoked one on the fast break. Yeah,
Courtney Williams, Jessica Shepard, and then somebody else missed a layup. And at that point, I tweeted that, and I love all the players, but I felt like Jessica Shepard had to come out of the game, which she eventually did, because you could tell that she was gun shy with regards to taking shots.
Yeah.
And you can't be in the paint. You can't be around the paint as a post player or taking layups, and you're scared to shoot because you guys have missed a couple of bunnies. So it kind of in that little 3-4 minute span, everybody was a little bit on edge, and I'm like, this is not good. We can't have that.
No, you can't. You can't have that. Like, if you're in the playoffs, you're on the court, you're on there for a reason. Your role may not be to score, but when you're wide open, you got to make a bucket. When you're within 2 feet of the rim, you need to be able to put that in. That's something that we talked about last night. But the Lynx had their problems putting it in, so did the Mercury. The Mercury missed a ton of layups last night, and they only made 3 threes. Kind of hard to win a basketball game when you only make 3 threes in 2025. So, it's going to be an interesting series, but I also think that the Lynx are kind of tested now in some way because they don't have Dejanay Carrington. Yeah. And I think she provides a lot defensively and is able to stretch the court with her 3-ball. You take her out, it's like, all right, dang, who's our on-ball defender now? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to stop somebody? And I think that defensively in the paint, Masha, like you said, played great. But realistically speaking, if they move on, you got to play Kelsey Mitchell or Asia Wilson. Somebody got to step up in that paint outside of Napheesa Collier,
So we got to get to this.
I'm listening.
Napheesa Collier was shut out of all of the awards this year. She doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year. Her teammate, Atlanta Smith, ended up getting cold with Asia Wilson. Asia Wilson, who I told you a month ago was coming for the MVP, she wins it outright. I called this because Fee, as much as we love Fee, when she was missing time and the Aces got on that run, what did I say? I said the momentum has shifted.
You did.
You saw the odds in Vegas dramatically shift.
Yep.
So Fee did nothing wrong, but she shut out. What are your thoughts on that?
That's tough. I mean, when's the last time you've seen in the WNBA or the NBA where the number 1 team in the league that clinched the playoffs ahead of everybody with 3 weeks left in the season, you got the best record, you got, the most wins, and it's just, you look at the stats, and all the teams that they beat, and it's kind of how do you not win a 6th Man of the Year, defensive player? Well, you did win Defensive Player of the Year, but you didn't win an MVP or anything like that. It's kind of I thought the best players on the best teams typically win the MVP. And not to say that Asia Wilson wasn't deserving of winning her 4th MVP, because she certainly was.
Yeah.
But it's also they've been the best team all year long. And Fee shot what this season? She was a 50, 40, 90 player?
Yep.
50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line? What more do you have to do?
She got to take it personal.
What do you have to do?
Please, Fee, take it personal.
I hope she does, because
they threw shade at you.
And she was highly upset last year when they lost in the finals to the New York Liberty and the foul discrepancy and how they weren't going to the line. And I vividly remember seeing her after the game in the tunnels, and she's like, how? Make it make sense. That was the most passionate I had ever seen Fee, even in front of media. She knew we were watching. She knew we could see her, and she was still laying into it, questioning the refs and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? I like that fire. I like that tenacity from Fee. And I think we saw that in the first half yesterday for her. But I think she needs to keep it going. She was rather quiet in the second half. I think AT did a phenomenal job on her. And she probably exerted a lot of energy trying to guard Alyssa Thomas. But I want to see Fee come out here and play like an MVP with her hair on fire for the remainder of the playoffs.
Agreed.
You think you got snubbed for MVP? Go show it. Go score 30 every night. Go get 10 rebounds. Go get 5 assists. Show everybody, what you're capable of, and make them, and then if you have a chance to play Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces, take it to them. Go show them, this is why you should have voted me the MVP.
And this is another thing I think that, I think that the point that players were making a year ago about supporting the league and the players in the league and not necessarily look at things through the lens of like individualism has bared to be true. Because shout out to the Indiana Fever. They are up 1-0 on the Las Vegas Aces. They don't have Caitlin Clark. They don't have Sophie Cunningham. They don't have like 4 players.
Like 5, yeah.
Yeah, and they're up in the semifinals.
Nobody expected them to be up.
I mean, put some respect on Kelsey Mitchell's name. So my point in this is that like when we start looking at these leagues, there are leagues that people want to look at and they make it about 1 or 2 players. The WNBA has never been based on that. It's always been about the league as a whole. And I think what the players and even some of the coaches tried to say to the new fans that came in last year on the back of Caitlin Clark, who's phenomenal, is that, look, welcome to the league. Mm-hmm. We're going to have an amazing time. But understand that it's not just the Caitlin Clark show.
Right.
This is a phenomenal league. And I think that everybody's finding that out.
I know I'm finding it out.
I mean, that's crazy.
Like, look, I knew, like, when you saw the injuries to Indiana, you're like, all right, they're not making the playoffs here. Like, it's over with. Then you see them make the playoffs, win the first round, then go out there and stun the Aces in the next round. It's like, man, there's a lot of talent going around. And I think that's why a lot of players, like, were getting drafted, then getting cut coming out of college because the league is filled with so much talent. And so I think it's going to be a dogfight. So the Lynx took game 1. But who knows what's going to happen in game 2 if they don't bring that same defensive tenacity, to help shut down the Mercury. So they very well could go to Phoenix with a chance to sweep this series, But it's going to take all they have, to stop this Phoenix team because they played with a lot of momentum in round 1 to get them here. And so I think, and kind of like the team has alluded to all season, they have a target and a bullseye on their back. And they got to keep playing with that fire, especially since the Liberty are gone now. So this is who everybody's gunning for.
All right, a couple of final things. Let's talk about the Twins for a second. And there was only one item with the Twins, the note that Pablo Lopez goes on the injured list, so his season is over. I'm all for it. I said this a while back. I'm not sure that I really wanted him to come back because I really didn't want him to put himself in a position to where he could possibly get injured.
Right, and that's what I'm saying too. Like, this is a guy. This is your investment. Like, him and Joe Ryan. Like, these are the guys you kept, and you're like, these are the guys that's going to be our future. So it's like, why even play them this year when you traded away your whole team? You don't have any, like, I won't say competitive spirit because you're playing a game. You should always be competitive, but there's no chance for you to go to the playoffs. So it's like, why are you bringing your stars back? Like, rest them. Let the young pups play. See what you got in them, and let's build on next season. So love to see that he's done for the season because you just don't want him to suffer anything significant to where he misses next season.
And for Gopher football, is it Rutgers week?
It's Rutgers this weekend.
Ooh.
It's Rutgers this weekend. Big week.
Ooh, what
Big
you
week.
think?
And then you got Ohio State next weekend.
Yeah, we know.
They got to win this weekend. They got to win.
They have to.
You just had a disappointing loss versus Cal. A disappointing. This is what I say about the Gophers every single year.
Which I predicted.
And you did. And this is what I say about the Gophers every single year. And look, blast me all you want about PJ Fleck. Yes, he has brought a culture to Minnesota. Yes, he is getting players to graduate. Yes, he is getting players to go to the National Football League. That's all great. But when you lose these games every year that you're supposed to win, and then you can't go out and go beat Ohio State. You can't beat Michigan. You barely beat Iowa consistently. You get a win here and there versus Wisconsin. Why are you getting paid millions of dollars every year? That's my biggest question mark. You go out and lay an egg versus a Cal team who you should beat, and then it's like, all right, well, we know we're penciling in a Ohio State loss. Like, we know Penn State, that's probably going to be a loss, like things like that. So it's kind of like, when do you challenge PJ Fleck to say, you need to win big games? You need to win games versus good teams and not mediocre Big Ten teams. Because I think he literally gets off by beating like the North Carolinas and the who do they play? Buffaloes and teams like that. And then they go beat a bottom half Big Ten team like a Purdue or Illinois when they were down. And then it's like it's 9 wins, but it's like 7 of those are against, I won't say trash opponents, but not college football playoff worthy opponents.
This is the biggest thing with PJ, though, and I don't understand why this continues to happen. Over the course of the last 3 years, when they've lost to teams that they should not have lost to, somehow, some way, he finds later in the year against an opponent in the Big Ten that they're supposed to lose to, he finds a way to win.
He does.
And so, to me, we're on the same page. The inconsistency of it all. I don't understand that. Like, how are you losing against teams you're supposed to beat, but then the teams where we give you no shot, you find a way?
And I was on record saying this after week 1 when they took on Buffalo. And they tried Darius Taylor out there on the final drive of the game to milk the clock and gave him like 12 carries, and he finished the game with like 40 touches. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is your best player. This is your future player. Like, this is the guy you need on your team to be healthy. And then Ryan Burns, a reporter for them, like who covers them extensively, comes out and is like, this is a drive where he's been off for 8 months. Like, you know, he's had a whole offseason to rest up and recover. Like, this is a drive where they wanted to send a statement and show they can run the ball and close out games because thank you. Buffalo, 40 carries. And what does he do the very next week? Tweaks his hamstring on the first drive. Like, come on, man. Like, that's why he shouldn't have got 40 carries or 40 touches versus Buffalo. Like, be smart, PJ. Like, ever since I've been covering this team, he runs his running backs into the ground, into the dirt, and they can never finish the season. Like, take care of your players, PJ. Like, I know I'm going on a rant right now, but take care of your players. Like, your best players. Like, Darius Taylor should not have touched the ball 40 times in week 1. Like, come on now. Like, this is why you play opponents like that, so you can see where your depth is on the team, so you can see what other players you have behind your stars. So I just get very frustrated when I'm talking about the Gophers football team because, like you said, they are very inconsistent. They lose games they should win. They go beat teams they should probably lose to that on paper. But it's like, when are you going to put it together consistently, PJ, and go out there and have a team that can beat teams every year? Because you inherited Jerry Kill's team when you got here. When you went to the Outback Bowl and you beat Auburn. You inherited his team. Now you're getting good players. You're getting all the guys in state from Minnesota. But what are you doing with that? Are you a college football playoff team? Probably not this year. So when will you be? What are we competing for? You haven't won a Big Ten title since you've been here. Like, what are we competing for? Why are you getting extended? I get the culture's good. Like, I get players love their coaches. But at the same time, you need to win, and you need to win big games if you're going to be making over $6 million a year. I'm done with my rant now.
I want to see Coy do something significant the next couple of weeks.
They better.
I mean, I'm dead serious. Like, people have been amping him and talking about how good he is, and he is amazing. But, like, to justify the talk of greatness, you got to be great.
I need to see it.
Yeah.
I need to see it. And, like, we talked all offseason about, oh, he's a baller, he's a lover, he's so competitive. Like, you know, we're going to put him on offense. Like, we wish every player was like this. All right, show us.
Yeah, all this Travis Hunter types. Remember we talked, we're like, hold on, y'all need to calm down with
like,
all
Travis
that.
Hunter had the hype coming out of high school. Coy didn't have that hype about being a two-way player coming out of high school. So, look, I love the Gophers. I love watching them, but it's also very frustrating watching them because I think their offense can be very boring at times. It could be very, very predictable. And just, like, go win football games you're supposed to win. You should be 3-0. You should have been 4-0 heading into Ohio State. Like, that should have been the storyline heading into Ohio State. So now you need to go out there and go compete against the Rutgers team because, I mean, look, you got the rest of the schedule. Like, after Ohio State, you got Purdue. All right, that's a win. Nebraska's playing good football. Iowa's never an easy win. Michigan State's playing good football. They have a very talented dual-threat quarterback. Then you got number 6 Oregon that you're talking about. So the only guaranteed wins that you're looking at for the rest of the year maybe Rutgers, Purdue, and Northwestern. That's it. Like, every other team, you have to compete. So it's like, look, laid an egg. Don't lay an egg again this weekend. Because if you head into Ohio State 2-2, now we're just talking about you maybe winning 6 games and just getting a bowl game that no one cares about. And I hate when teams go to bowl games when they get 6 wins, but that's another story for another day. Yeah. I'll get off my soapbox on that.
Yeah. Well, I love the rant. I love the another show, H&H Podcast in the books.
Yeah.
That'll do it for this week. We'll talk to you guys next week, and I'm going to be feeling so much better when I get over this dang wisdom tooth, man. Peace out.
All right, y'all. We'll catch y'all later. Appreciate you tuning in.